National Guard forces in place today to assist with Lolo Peak security. Lawmakers check in as resources become a topic of concern, and mourning in Barcelona as dozens remain in recovery.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on KPAX, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, I'm Augusta McDonnell. The Montana National Guard arrived today to help man checkpoints and patrol evacuated areas to provide relief for overtaxed local law enforcement. Yesterday, they were activated due to Governor Steve Bullock declaring a fire emergency in Montana. 155 soldiers will staff 35 security checkpoints around the fire. In addition to the soldiers on the ground, the National Guard also has a helicopter scheduled to arrive on Monday to assist with fire operations. Seeing military vehicles on the side of the road can seem unusual, but information officers say that it's nothing that Montana has not seen before.
Yeah, so it's very normal in Montana for the National Guard to show up when we have large fires and help out the local county sheriffs. The county sheriffs have a normal job to do when they have a lot of fires going in the counties like Missoula County does now. They really get run ragged because they're trying to do their regular job plus assist on all the fires.
National Guard information officers say they don't know how long the National Guard will be helping out. They're examining the potential for further deployment of ground support as well as helicopters. Senator Steve Daines visited the Lolo Peak fire this morning to address resource issues with the Lolo Peak fire. He joined crews for a briefing on fire conditions and containment plans. Daines received a full tour of the Lolo Peak fire and a new command center at the Florence Carleton School.
We're going to get the resource that we need here to fight this fire. So I know there's some anxiety right now out there. Will the resource be there? The answer is yes. We've been working with FEMA to make sure we've got the resources we need, as well as with the National Forest Service, the state. We'll have the resources we need to fight this fire.
Daines said he is impressed with groups from federal, state, and local levels' ability to have one priority in mind, and that's keeping the community safe. But in order to do so, the state has to have funding. The federal government covers much of the cost of firefighting on federal lands, but Montana also bears a portion of that cost. He said the state will continue to pursue federal assistance, including Federal Emergency Management Administration funds, that's FEMA. As of now, Daines said we have the best crews across the nation working to contain the Lolo Peak fire.
We have one of the best Type 1 incident commands in the nation right here in this Lolo fire, as it should be. Greg Ponchin and the team here are some of the best in the business. Pleased to see that, and you're starting to see the results. We got a few good breaks last night, despite the fact this fire grew 50% in the last 24 hours. The strategy these leaders are deploying, the choices they're making are paying off. We just could use a break in the weather right now.
The Lolo Peak fire exploded on Friday due to strong winds and ongoing dry conditions. Fire managers this morning determined that the blaze burned an additional 9,000 acres on Friday, bringing the total area burned to 28,000 acres between Lolo and Florence. Last night, the hillsides glowed orange and flames were seen rising into the air. Evacuations remain in place for hundreds of homes and thousands of residents in the Lolo and Florence areas. Mandatory evacuation orders are in place in areas on the west side of Highway 93 and areas on both sides of Highway 12. An additional 60 to 65 homes on Sleeman Creek Road are also under mandatory evacuation orders. Pre-evacuation notices remain in place between Lolo and Florence as well. Fire managers this morning announced Highway 12 will now be closed to all traffic west of Lolo beginning at Sleeman Creek Road. Most of the fire activity on Friday was seen along the north end of the fire, where strong west winds pushed the fire to the east. Due to spotting, it burned almost to the Highway 12 corridor, which forced fire managers to request that the route be closed to all non-fire traffic and the Sleeman Creek Road to be evacuated. A community meeting for the Lolo Peak fire will be held tomorrow, Sunday, in Florence at 7 p.m. at the Florence Baptist Church. The meeting will be live streamed on both the Lolo and Bitterroot National Forest Facebook pages. You can find reports on all of our fires burning in western Montana on our website. We'll continue to track all the details and the critical information you need with our Fire Watch coverage on air and online with our Facebook and Twitter feeds and the KPAX mobile app. Meteorologist Russ Thomas joins us in the Storm Tracker Weather Center now with more details on the forecast that you can expect this weekend. Russ.
Yeah, one piece of good news here. We have a red flag warning earlier. It went through 9 o'clock. That has since expired. Winds calming down. It doesn't look like it's going to be as windy tomorrow. First Security Bank ICAM looking in the Bitter Valley this evening. You can see, of course, the smoke out there. Very hazy. No surprise there. Missoula lucked out a little bit today because of the winds. We actually are clear in the Missoula Valley at this point. Now, in terms of what we're seeing with our temperatures, 63 Hamilton, 65 in Polson, 66 in Missoula, a little cooler, 57 in Kalispell. Now, coming up tomorrow, it looks like we are going to have a nice day, and we'll have more on that coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Russ. And over at the Rice Ridge Fire, new trail closures today. Both Lodgepole and Montour Creek Trailhead are now closed. In the last 2 days, the fire has grown approximately 2,000 acres eastward away from the town of Seeley Lake. As of this morning, the fire is roughly 15,000 acres and the perimeter is about 10% contained. Officials say residents can expect much of the same fire conditions as yesterday. Crews are working to reduce fuels, monitor growth, and suppress the fire from the ground on all sides. The red flag weather warning may contribute to the growth of that fire. May have contributed to the growth. There will be a community meeting held on Monday, August 21st at 6 p.m. at the Seeley Lake Elementary School. If you need more information, you can check that out. And as we near Monday's total solar eclipse, thousands across the nation are scrambling to find a pair of ISO certified eclipse glasses. The Helena Astronomical Society says their area is no exception, as they sold out of their last remaining 200 pairs in just 13 minutes this morning at the farmers market. The group had been selling the custom print glasses for $2 in order to raise funds to relocate their telescope and observatory to the Montana Learning Center, which is on Canyon Ferry Lake. Organizers say they sold over 1,000 pairs in the last 3 weeks at the market, including this morning as the last batch of glasses were quickly bought up. The Helena Astronomical Society also donated 250 pairs of eclipse glasses to local organizations in the area, including the Shodare Children's Hospital, Farm in the Dell, and Spring Meadow Resources. Club members say they were surprised to see the glasses in such high demand during this morning's market.
Folks have been here since 6:30. We're not really trying to make a profit as such, but to provide a service.
The Helena Astronomical Society reminds the public that staring directly at the sun at any time is dangerous. They also recommend preschool children not view the eclipse even with the ISO certified safety glasses. And in Bozeman, a rally for love and equality took place today. MTN's Caitlin Corbett was there and has more on that rally's message.
I'm here at Bogart Park in Bozeman, where the Montana Hate-Free Zone Unity Love Rally just wrapped up. Now, over 100 people came out with handmade signs to show their support. I got to talk to a few of those people about what it means to make Montana a hate-free zone.
Don't argue and use your manners. I want people to get along.
All ages came out to show their support at the Hate-Free Zone rally, hoping to promote love and equality throughout Montana and the world. The rally featured several speakers and was led by Reverend Denise Jones, co-founder of the Montana Hate-Free organization, who hopes that Montana hate-free zones will eventually catch on.
This is a loving state. Bozeman is a loving community, and I personally think we have a lot to offer other places. Our organization is global. My dream is for there to be hate-free zones around the world, and they will be called Montana hate-free zones because of the principles and the love that we have here.
And a powerful message of the rally: use your voice.
Never, ever, ever be silent about it. We need to be speaking up about how horrible it is, about how we can combat it, about how to help the people who are subject to violence from it. It's our responsibility to not be silent.
I think that we need to respond whenever we can to hate, because hate is not productive, and the reality is that we have so much in common that we need to send that message out that we can work together to make the world a better place for everybody.
Reporting in Bozeman, Caitlin Corbett, MTN News.
Coming up right after this break, Russ is back in with the latest on weather conditions across western Montana this weekend. Plus, in a bit, police in Boston keep protesters and marchers at arm's length. More on those rallies there after this.